And good evening. Welcome to the UD Football Show here on this Monday night here on the University of Dubuque campus. And we're broadcasting again from Coach Zwiefel's office here to bring you Spartan news. The Spartans got off to a win with the win over Pacific on Saturday, 37-26, and that ended the non-conference slate. And so up next, conference play, starting with Simpson College at Chalmers Field. Another night game and a 6 o'clock kickoff, and so the Spartans ready to attack the American Rivers Conference and try to run the course and get a conference championship in the trophy case. That's what it's all about, and it all starts on Saturday night against the Storm, who also are coming off their first victory of the season, defeating the University of Chicago 27-23. So both teams will enter the contest at 1-1. And so the Spartans and the Storm will battle it out again coming up on Saturday night. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the American Rivers Conference and how the other teams have fared with Coach Zwiefel as part of our show. But we're going to talk about the win over Pacific. That's always been a good game, and it wasn't any different in the sixth meeting between the two teams. And so we'll get Coach Zwiefel's take here in just a little bit. And also we'll be joined later by the coordinators. The defensive coordinator for the Spartans in his fifth season, Carl Coleman, will be joining us. And in his first season as offensive coordinator, Dan Clark will be coming on, and we'll be meeting those guys this season, talking with them, their views on the UD football team as we get ready for the conference portion of the schedule. So we'll return. Coach Zwiefel will join us when we return. This is the UD Football Show on 101.1 The River. And we're back on the University of Dubuque Football Show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel here on this Monday night after a Spartan win. Always good to get that first win, and especially before you start conference play. 37-26 win over Pacific. And, Coach, just your first thoughts on the victory.
You know, it is nice to get our win. It's the second game of the season, so when we talk about that first win, obviously it opened up with a very, very difficult schedule, the UW-Whitewater. And I'm going to really be sad to have Pacific no longer on our schedule. I've told you earlier it's almost like a conference game for us. It's been 6 years. Even when we jumped off to a 14-0 lead, I really felt that it's going to end up being one of those types of games again. And they really closed it 28-26, and we had a two-point conversion that they went for to tie the game that we intercepted and took it back 102 yards by Emmanuel Jenkins, E.J. Jenkins, to make it 30-26. And although it wasn't much in the scoring part of it, Tim, it was huge in momentum. We had really, in the third quarter, they had went on a 7-minute and 10-second drive to open the third quarter to close it to one score, and then we went 3 and out. Then when they went down again and scored, and I thought the two-point conversion gave us a little bit of whatever that is. You know, momentum's such a funny thing in all sports, but in the game of football, a big play can change momentum, whether it be a kick or a defensive play or an offensive play. And I just thought that defensive play gave us a much-needed spark because we were really stagnant in the third quarter. Our inability of our defense to get off the field and our inability of our offense to stay on the field compounded both those things. In the third quarter, I think they had the ball dang near 12 minutes and 20 seconds to about 2:40 for us, or 3 minutes. So it was a really contrasting style in that third quarter. We didn't get it. But, you know, as I told you about almost all fall now and in our preseason too, we're very explosive, and that showed up on Saturday night with a lot of explosive plays from our wide receivers. The thing that is most, I think, hurts the most when you look back in the game is our inability to run the ball. Coach Clark will talk about that. You know, we talked earlier, Tim, about how they were a pressure defense. They were going to bring 7, 8 guys into the box, try to stop the run, and they were successful at doing that. But the flip side of that is you got to play man-to-man pass coverage, and if you have a mistake in man-to-man pass coverage, it can result in a touchdown, and we threw 5 touchdown passes in that game. So I think it manifested it in that way, and so when I left the field, I'm disappointed that we didn't rush the ball more, but I'm also smart enough to know that their basis of their defense is to try to frustrate you, to try to create big turnovers for those guys, and we didn't fumble the ball. We did throw a pick, but we didn't fumble the ball, so I thought we took care of the football, and then conversely, when they gave us an opportunity to make a big play, we did. Our defense played extremely well, Tim, and Carl will talk about that, but for much as they were on the field again, because when you can't rush the football, that clock doesn't, it stops, and their defense is out there so often. So the third quarter, we really did not do a good job of staying on the field, but in the fourth quarter, it kind of evened itself out. And I would say one other thing about our non-conference schedule. Now, that ended our 2-year contract with UW-Whitewater, and the smart guy that I am, I picked up UW-Lacrosse, who's now ranked 13th in the country and 2-0, and coached by a former assistant of mine, Mike Schmidt. So, we continue here at University of Dubuque to try to schedule quality opponents from different leagues. And our other non-conference game, Tim, will be a new one for us since I've been here. I think they played him before I got here, but Marietta, out of the Ohio Athletic Conference, Mountain Union's conference, who really, I told our coaches, they remind me of our program. The coach took over 4 years ago on a program that was pretty dead in the water and didn't have much success. And last year they were 7-3, and he's really got them on a trending upward. And I think it'll be a really nice one of those games when you play. You're not sure who's going to win. Just like Pacific, they have a great opportunity to win. We have a great opportunity, and then we play a real challenging opponent where we have to play our best game to win. So turn it over. We're leaving the non-conference schedule, going to conference, but I'm very excited about our next 2 years contracts. I think we've done just what I've always said we'll do, Tim. Play a top 20, a top 10, a top 5 team if we can get the schedule as such, and then play another team from an Ohio conference, an MIAC, a WIAC, a Northwest conference, a team that's going to have some playoff caliber football teams in their league, and get a chance to have a real competitive game also.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the 37-26 win over Pacific. Go back to that first half. It was tied at 7, and then you ran off 3 unanswered touchdowns to make it a 28-7 lead. And you pointed out that you didn't turn the ball over much, and Pacific did.
They did.
You won the turnover battle again, and that aided in some of your scores.
We had really 2 good guys coming in, stripping the ball, one with a helmet on the ball, the other with a strip. That was Marshawn Crowder who got that strip, a punch out that our defense teaches in our tackling circuit and our turnover circuit. So that really came to fruition for us. We should have had another one, Tim. We dropped a touchdown pass, and then we had a bubble screen called back that Cordell Stillmonk has showed great speed on their sideline. We got a call back, and we didn't score on that opportunity. I really thought 35-7 would have been a significant difference. And then they were able to go down and score right before half, I think, which gave them life.
Yeah.
I think they felt like, hey, here's a chance to get a spark, and that spark continued into the third quarter when they closed it to 2 points. So we really, in the third quarter, we snapped the ball 8 times on offense. Man, oh man, that's not very many snaps. And we didn't have the ball. But that's on us, too. When a team's starting to get some momentum, you got to stay out there on the field. But we tried to run the ball in those first 2 possessions in the third quarter, and they just wouldn't allow us, Tim. They just outnumbered us in the box and did a lot of things stunning in their stunt game and blitz game, which outnumbered us in the box. And, that came in effect when we threw the ball down the field and scored some touchdowns in the throw game. I thought really that our punt return team was really good. We had a 22-yard punt return that was called back on a block in the back, but we handled all the punts. We blocked a punt. We stressed their punt team a couple times, which shanked some short punts and gave us good field position. So I felt that we improved in that area, Tim, from the Saturday game at UW-Whitewater. And, of course, I told you that I thought we would improve because Pacific's a good football team, but they're not UW-Whitewater. So I think that helped us, and I think it'll help us for this upcoming Saturday game also.
Just some great individual performances by some of your players. A couple of 100-plus yardage receivers, and Cody Reimer and Elliot Pipkin, and, of course, Sean Duffy throwing for 265 yards, 5 touchdowns. Did have the 2 picks, as you mentioned. But on the defensive side of the ball, too, Freddie Walton all over the field.
Outstanding, wasn't he?
8 solos, 14 total tackle points.
He plays with such a motor. He's not a very big guy, tall. He's big, thick. Does a great job in our off-season program. Coach Mandot does a nice job with him. But he has a relentless motor. And on defense, there's still places for smaller guys who play hard. And he just plays hard as heck. And then Marshawn Crowder, we talk about him all the time on this show, and we talk about him staff. He's not always in the right place where he's supposed to be, my friend, but he always finds ways to make a play. He has a knack, an instinct, football savvy. You call it what you want. He just understands the game, and he's so athletic, so he's able to make a lot of plays for us. And I really thought that our secondary did a really nice job on the game on Saturday night. We put that number one is going to be as good a receiver as we've seen. Mm-hmm. And we did a heck of a job on him. We really took him out of the game, and I thought that made him become left-handed a little bit. The guy we didn't expect was their running back, who had a really nice game for him. He was a big physical guy that hadn't taken many snaps in the previous game or the previous year. And I think the reason is, Tim, he fumbled a couple times, and I think that's probably why he's not their main back, because he was a good-looking kid, 6'1", 216, 220 in that. And I got up next to him. He was a good-looking kid. So they were able to pound the ball a little bit. And, it looked like we weren't doing things correctly. We had a couple malalignments in our interior line, and we had a couple stunts that went the wrong way. And they just happened to hit us in the right time, in the right gap at that part. But that's a correctable mistakes and correctable errors, and we're going to get lined up. And I think that kind of game is really good because it's a competitive game. You don't know if you're going to win or lose, and you got to play 4 quarters in that game.
I know we were talking about this last week and talk about it all the time with coaches. Game 1 to game 2, you want to see the most improvement, and what areas did you see that happen the greatest in?
I thought our protection did a really nice job on Saturday from the types of blitzes they were giving us. I mentioned our special teams really improved. Punt team and our punt return team, as well as our kickoff return. Against Whitewater, we chose to fair catch and take the ball at the 25, and there are a couple opportunities on the previous Saturday against Pacific we didn't. And I just thought we were a little bit more command offensively of what our game plan was, and I felt better about executing our plan this Saturday than we did against UW-Whitewater. Now we have to make that same improvement in this opening game against Simpson. Last year Simpson and us played game 9 in kind of a de facto championship game. Whoever won that game was going to be playing for the championship on game 10. And if Simpson wins that home game, they are essentially got to win the last game, and they're going to the NCAA playoffs. And we played extremely well down there to win that game. And I don't know if the guy's got grudges, whatever that stuff is. I can barely remember last week's game, let alone a year ago. But, guys, they're going to use that as a motivation, obviously. Here's a team that knocked us out of the playoffs last year and come up and play those guys. So it'll be a very competitive game. They're very similar to last year, Tim, both offensively and defensively. I know the coordinators will mention something about that. But it was a very competitive game last year in very bad conditions, and a game where all the marbles were on the road on game 9. Boy, you love to play in those games late in the season where you still got a fighting chance to get to the NCAA playoffs. Now it's kind of flipped to the start for us as the change of the ARC scheduling is gone. So this will be a really good game with two teams who I think both have aspirations of being in first place when the season's over.
Going to take a quick break. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Simpson, and then we'll have the third segment devoted to the coordinators. Coach Dan Clark and Carl Coleman will be stopping by. This is the UD Football Show. We'll be back with Coach Zweifel for a few more minutes after this on 101.1 The River. We're back on the University of Dubuque Football Show. Head football coach Dan Zweifel joining us for a couple more minutes here. I want to talk a little bit more about Simpson, but first let's talk about the American Rivers Conference. Conference play starting this Saturday for all the teams in the league, and as you've watched the teams through their non-conference slates, what's jumped out at you?
BV being 2-0 has jumped out at me, and Nebraska Wesleyan being 2-0 has jumped out at me. Both those teams struggled a little bit last year. That's great for the league. They started 2-0, and of course, Wartburg and Central they're also 2-0, and I kind of felt that both those schools would be 2-0. Central's really lighting it up offensively with their quarterback, the Hawkins kid, and Wartburg's going to be they're just going to be a good football team, and so I don't think that's a surprise. Some of the guys who are 1-1 have played probably better or stronger competition in their non-conference competition than some of the other folks have, but hey, that doesn't matter anymore. Now it's all going to be conference, and as I talked to the squad on yesterday and today's, there'll be 4 teams in first place on Sunday and 4 teams in last place on Sunday. You sure like to put yourself in that situation. You're one of the 4 teams in first place. I will tell you, Tim, it's going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be a very close game. I think Coach Matt Jeter's done a great job down there. He took over a program that was struggling a little bit. You know, it was a little bit trending downward, and he was Coach of the Year last year in the second place finish that he got. And I thought that was a well-deserved honor by Coach. He had taken a team that had struggled 2 years before and taken him to a chance to play for the conference championship, as we mentioned earlier on Game 9. Very physical defense. I know Dan will mention a little bit about that, but thick, strong kids, great against the run. I've got a very veteran secondary. They got a very veteran offense coming back. They're going to be a really good football team. We think we're going to be a good football team, and I think what this game will decide, who's going to be a chance to hang around with the Wartburgs and Centrals as we move along in the schedule. And, Tim, our first 6 games, we're going to know what happens because we're playing all those folks in our first 6 games. So we played a UW Whitewater, we'll play a Wartburg, we'll play a Central, and we got a Simpson and a Cole. Those are all good football games in our first 6 games. So we got to get going. We got to be ready on this game Saturday, but I think we will. I think our men are excited about playing a conference game. It's going to be a beautiful night game again for us, and I think there'll be a great crowd, and we're excited about playing these folks.
They won 5 straight against the Storm. They've all been very competitive games,
yes,
and
really
you're 8-2 in your career here at UD against them. But they've all They've all come down to the wire most of them.
And even the 2 games we lost, I think one was 50-47 or 50-45.
Arena League game.
I'm trying to recall that game, but it was maddening for sure. And then the other game, I think we didn't do very well offensively, but they've been competitive games before Coach Jeter was there and since Coach Jeter was there. And like I said, it's important that you get started fast, and for us, it's vitally important with our schedule, the way we open up in the league.
Coach Zwiefel, anything else you want to add before we turn you loose?
Let's get everybody out here on Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Paul's going to have a little bit of good things going on in our game, so we'll get a chance here to get you over here and see us play.
All right, yeah. Come on out and watch the Spartans in their American Rivers Conference opener, 6 o'clock on Saturday night at Chalmers Field. And just in case you can't make it, of course, we'll have it here on 101.1 The River with a pregame at about 5:40. When we return, we're going to come back and talk with the coordinators, offensive coordinator Dan Clark and defensive coordinator Carl Coleman. Part of the next segment when we come back. This is UD Spartan Football on 101.1 The River. And we're back on the UD Football Show here on 101.1 The River, and we're going to talk with the coordinators for the Spartans again for 2019 as Carl Coleman stops by and joins us. And this is the 5th time we've had Coach Coleman on the program because this is his 5th season here on the UD campus. And, Coach, it's always great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. Always great to see you as well.
Well, let's talk about this UD defense. Your take so far. Team's 1-1, and talk about your views on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, it's always great to get a win. The game didn't start off the way we wanted it to defensively. We gave up an early score on the first possession defensively, but then we kind of got it turned around, blocked a punt, and had about 5 straight series where we either forced a fumble and recovered the ball or forced a punt, setting up the offense with good field position. So thought we as we got our sea legs under us, we kind of regrouped, gathered ourselves, and started playing really good football there back half of the first quarter, early part of the second quarter. And then we took a step back. We had about 3 series in there where we did not play Spartan defense, and we gave up 3 scores, and it allowed Pacific to get back in the game. Their running back did a phenomenal job of running the inside zone and established the run early on. They did a good job up front, and then their quarterback made good decisions and was able to get the ball around to a variety of different receivers. Felt like we took Kobe Williams out of the game, their best wide out, but they were able to target some of their other receivers and continue to keep the ball moving. So they did a very good job there in the end of the second quarter, early part of the third quarter, getting back in the game.
Mm-hmm. One of the strengths of the Spartan team this year overall and on the defensive side of the ball is you've got some veteran guys out there on the defensive side, seniors, juniors that have played, and
yes,
so that's a real strength for that team.
Yes, sir. We've got a very experienced defense led by Chad Marsh, our senior linebacker. He had second in the team in tackles this past game with 7. And then Freddie Walton, one of our junior linebackers, was just all over the field. I believe he had 8 or 9 solo tackles, a handful of assist tackles, and made a sack, ran the quarterback down on a scramble, and caught him behind the line of scrimmage. A very explosive player, runs well, plays weak side, outside linebacker for us, and had a very good game. And then also Marshawn Crowder. Just has a knack for making plays. He forced 2 fumbles, one in the first half, and then forced a strip sack there at the end of the game to give the ball back to the offense to secure the win. He's playing good football. Still makes some mistakes. All the guys on defense are making mistakes, coaches included. We have some things that we need to do to get some things cleaned up on the interior with our alignments and continuing to simplify. But I was pleased with the way we finished the game. We were able to shut Pacific out in the fourth quarter, and that's one of our team goals. Don't give up any points in the fourth quarter. You have a good chance of winning the game if you go into the fourth quarter with a lead. So.
Yeah. One thing that I've been impressed with, and this is 2 years in a row, Josh Ezekiel moving from a wide receiver to a cornerback spot. This year, E.J. Jenkins taken over from the offensive side to the defensive side, and those guys have really caught up to speed really quickly. Absolutely. It seems like
Coach Z has a knack for position changes. Since I've been here, he's always done a great job of shuffling guys around to get our best athletes on the field. Devin Smith, as you recall, was a running back, moved to linebacker, ended up being an all-conference player. So Coach Z has a knack for that. He does a good job of identifying talent, and we want to make sure that we have our best 22 on the field at all times. And so I'm excited that we have Jenkins over on the defensive side of the ball. He made a big-time play there in the third quarter, intercepting the 2-point conversion try and running it back for 2 points kind of shifted the momentum a little bit. And then Josh Ezekiel has started for us the past 2 games and has done a phenomenal job out there.
Of course, now the season shifts gears to conference play. And a very important game on Saturday night to get off on the right foot against Simpson College. So I know your defense is excited to get the conference portion underway.
We are. We're going to play a very good quarterback. Tanner Kruger was an honorable mention quarterback last season. He's back for his senior year. He has 2 really big wideouts, Sam Bartlett and Joe McNally, big wide receivers, 6'2" and 6'5". And then they have a good offensive line. They have some size up front. One of their linemen runs 6'6", 280, Mason Spree. So they do a very good job. They're well coached. Coach Jeter gets his guys off the bus ready to rock and roll. It's going to be a competitive game. Last year, late in the third quarter, I believe it was 10-6 at one point in time in that game, and then we were able to score a late touchdown and able to preserve the win defensively with a 2-minute defense out on the field. But it was a very competitive game. Ended up being 17-6. They're going to give us I tell our guys on defense all the time, Simpson's going to roll in here and it's going to be like a Super Bowl performance. You're going to get their best. The quarterback is going to throw the ball where it needs to go. He knows how to read coverages. He's very accurate. They have a stable of running backs, about 3 younger backs to replace the young man that they had in there last year that was an all-conference runner. So they're a good football team, and we're going to have to execute up front and on the back end if we want to have some success.
Coach Coleman, anything else you want to add about the defense before we bring offensive coordinator Dan Clark in here?
I want Coach Clark to get on in here. It's always excited to get a win.
So we'll get him in here and have you tag team with him and get the headphones to him.
Yes,
and so he should be coming over here real quickly. He's in his first season here at the University of Dubuque, and a pretty good resume. And we're going to bring Coach Clark in right now. And, Coach, put those headsets on and we'll talk some football here, Spartan football. First of all, welcome to the University of Dubuque.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Coach. Well, let's talk a little bit about, for fans that might not be real familiar with your resume, you've had experience on all levels of college football.
It's been an interesting road, this coaching profession. It really does. It started back, at the school we're playing this weekend. It started at Simpson College, and been fortunate to be with a lot of quality people and head coaches and pave my way here. And it's you never know where you're going to be. In our profession, it's very unique how Coach Z and I met back at Iowa when I was GAing in 2008, and it was opportunity where I was looking for a job, and Coach Z called, and sometimes it's timing is everything in our profession.
Yeah. Not just a job, but what intrigued you about this University of Dubuque football program to come and coach here?
well, when I was playing back in the 90s, it was, everybody remembers what it was like in the 90s. And so it was kind of that thought of, Coach Z, I didn't know the facilities had changed that much and the commitment, and as Dubuque was kind of in the cellar, and so it was just the commitment, the people when I got here, the Dan Runkle and President Bullock, and it was just a great atmosphere, and Coach Z has really changed the culture and the atmosphere of of where Dubuque football has been and where it's heading, and great man in his direction and driving a great bus.
Let's talk about the offense. This 2019 Spartans, first couple of games, your take where the offense is at right now?
Oh, man, it's been, you look at the week one and you go play a really good Whitewater team and they got after us. It was, not the way we wanted to start. We didn't really generate anything going, just forward. It was really, check. It was one of those check games where we got to go, oh, hey, we got to do better, just as, everybody, every person, every coach, every player, really check themselves on where we want to be and, where the, national ranked team and where Whitewater is, we got to execute better, up and down the board. And so, and we saw that in game 2, where we got some things going. We definitely, like, Coach and, the staff has been saying, we have some explosive weapons on our team. We really do. We can throw the deep ball. We can, break some long runs. Just the more consistent, fundamental, execution is what, we really have honed in on and what we need to keep improving on, and it showed up on Saturday again where, we went down and we started off fast. We took the opening possession and we went down and scored, which was, I think really a positive for our offense and what we needed. And, just everybody took a breath and go, okay, this is the way offense is supposed to be run. This is execution. And, we made some plays. And, then hats off to Pacific, and really taking some things away in the run game and, really loading the box. And it's still no, excuse for me for those guys, to say they had one extra, they were stunting and all that. We knew that was coming. We knew that was going to happen. And so we got to execute better up front. I think those guys up front are, obviously those are the guys I coach, and so I'm a little bit harder on them and where they need to be right now, and they're still gelling. It's good to have Nick back. He didn't play in week 1, coming off an elbow, and so it is good to have that experience of Nick back. So we were playing with 4 new faces. Mike Lewis is the the one returner and that guy that has experience, and he is the the captain in our room, and him and Nick are the seniors, and they need to bring this group along, and they know where they need to be, and that was still a good film to learn from, from everybody on everybody's standpoint there.
Mm-hmm. Offensive line, you touched on the rest of the offense. Pretty experienced group, and so that's a real luxury to have, as we talked with Coach Coleman about.
It is. It's Duffy's coming into his own. He's getting better every day. His experience is, you can't beat freaking game time experience and the bullets flying and executing and doing what quarterback needs to do is move the ball and make great decisions. And the running back core is solidifying itself into a we got some depth, and Dwayne is Dwayne. We need to get him going a little bit, and then that's up to our guys up front to get us rolling and gelling together in our run game and executing when we need to. Really, there was that third quarter that we really could have helped ourselves out and taken a third quarter drive and one of those 2 3 and outs. We really could have helped ourselves out and gotten the a little momentum back when Pacific felt that momentum coming to them a little bit, and we needed to put the foot on the pedal a little bit and make some plays. And so I think our receiving core is, you saw them on Saturday, a couple 100-yard receivers, Cody and Pip, and Masters come along getting healthy, and AJ Hunter is, he's trying to get healthy. It's kind of one guy goes on the injured reserve, and then another guy comes off, and so it's kind of been that way a little bit through camp, and that's what we're trying to get healthy, and we're getting close. We're looking forward to our tight ends playing well. We got two veteran guys that really played their tails off. Really did a excellent job in the blocking part of it, and they're going to be important, down this road in our passing game and stuff like that too. And so with Adam and Carletti, and so we got some experience in some spots, and those guys showed up, and the inexperience and guys that we need to get some game time experience, and when the lights come on, we got to go execute. And so that's what the conference is. Here it is. Here we go.
Here it is. It starts on Saturday night. The Simpson Storm coming in to Chalmers Field at 6 o'clock. Pregame at 5:40 here on 101.1 The River. Dan, been great having you on the program, and we'll look forward to seeing that Spartan offense on Saturday night.
Hey, I appreciate it. Go Spartans.
All right, offensive coordinator Dan Clark joining us, and we're going to wrap up our UD football show for this Monday night. We'll be back here again 6 o'clock on Monday night next week for the UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. And as I mentioned, Spartan football coming up on 101.1 The River and 1011theriver.com. And also the University of Dubuque will have the video stream up as well on the UD website. So that's going to wrap up our broadcast for tonight. I'm Tim Larry, 101.1 The River.